Fantasy Mania 2. The War on Valademkin City. Chapter 17. On the planet of Eronus. The city of Zwokada has transformed into a wonderful place. Families were able to live in their own apartments that towers high into the sky. This was truly the direction Earth was heading until unpredicted events occurred. But what about Bloodcry? What happened after she left the forest long ago to find a new home? Well, as time went on, she had discovered a new place and eventually humans had found her. But instead of leaving, she decided to form her own crowd of misfits that was kicked out of Zwokada for unknown reasons. She became ruthless and aggressive, riding into the desert sands, hijacking anyone who gets in their way. Thankfully for Bloodcry, nobody has ever made it back alive to notify the city of who they were. But this was who she was, and continued to be this way for a long time. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Arden, Lucifont and Eiffel had arrived unnoticed outside the walls of Arcadia. What they did was drop off Eiffel and Lucifont near the entrance while Arden carefully placed the machine they came in under a rock formation so it would be easy to escape if something goes wrong. Soon Arden had climbed up the rocks and snuck around to the back of the fortress, while the other two had approached the entrance. Just as Arcadius had exited the prison, he heard some commotion coming from the people here, saying there was two men standing in the front. Eiffel whispered to Lucifont, "I really hope we know what we are doing." Lucifont answered by saying, "We will definitely find out in a few seconds." Soon several guns were pulled out from every direction at them as Arcadius walked down the dirt path in their direction. Well, said Arcadius. He smiled and knew exactly what they wanted. Meanwhile, Arden pulled a telescope from his pocket and glanced over the rocks. He could see several men with guns in all directions. He turned around and could feel his heart rate increase. Soon he ducked down and slowly worked his way around the corner and snuck up on one of the men, grabbed him by the neck and choked him until he passed out. He then looked around and continued on. "So what brings you here to my lovely fortress, fellow residents of Ceta and Valademkin?" Lucifont stepped forward and told him that he wasn't here to cause any trouble, but had a message from the leader of Valademkin. Arcadius paced back and forth with his gun over his shoulder. He grinned and said, "Is that so? To be continued."